All right, guys, welcome back to the archive. Today we're going to be doing a book review on The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. So this book is called The War of Art, not to be mistaken with The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
Right, very common mistake.
Very common mistake.
This is a nonfiction self-help guide to win your creative battles. So this book is for anybody who is a content creator, an artist, a writer, somebody who just loves to create and pour their heart and soul into some endeavor that you give to the world. And again, it's just a guide to better win those creative battles and overcome writer's block or whatever the obstacle might be. So the first concept that I want to highlight in this book is a major motif or recurring symbol that Steven Pressfield uses called resistance. This is a concept in which he personifies a force called resistance. Whether or not reality actually behaves this way doesn't matter to him. He's using a metaphor.
Right.
And resistance is basically the devil.
Right.
It's like your counterpart. It's
very
your
Alan Watts devil archetype.
Yeah, it's very much like Satan. It's just the adversary.
Right.
So whenever you go throughout life, if you are sitting down to write or create something, it's almost as if the closer you get to that goal, the more obstruction pops up in your world to try to stop you from accomplishing that goal if it's so important to you to actually complete that process or task. So whether that be your friends, your family, somebody's holding you back, you get sick, you lose your job, so now you don't have any more money to pay for the studio space you're in, or you were writing your book and you were so close to being complete and you lose your USB flash drive forever that contained your backup.
Or some other task that's been on your mind starts to call out to you and you sort of use it as an escape from the work that's supposed to be done. I know for me personally, one strategy that I've integrated into my life is I kind of almost obsessively clean my house, because then when I'm sitting down and writing, I have no excuse not to write. There's nothing I need to do.
Exactly. So it's good that you bring that up, because resistance is this thing that he personifies as this force that literally rises to meet you almost as if you're on a battlefield and you have to fight and clash and contend with this force that's always trying to stop you at every turn. And that leads me to the next concept, which he's big on in the book, which is doing the work every day and the difference between professionalism versus amateurism.
Right. He outlines this really well when he's talking about a famous writer being interviewed, and the guy says, well, do you write every day or do you write when you feel like it? He said, I write when I feel like it, which just so happens to be at 9 a.m. every morning.
Right. Just so happens.
Yeah.
Which there's a huge concept in the book of professionalism versus amateurism, which is highlighted by doing the work every day on a set schedule or not. It doesn't matter. You just sit and work at something every day. If you wait for that spark, if you wait for that inspiration, the inspiration can come and go. It'll come and never come back. And so a lot of people say, well, I have writer's block, or, oh, I'm just waiting for that thing to hit me in the head. And that is an amateur. That's somebody who is not taking this endeavor of creativity seriously.
Right.
And it leads to the next major concept of the book, which is an exploration of the Muses. So the word muse is a Greek concept. It's a mythological concept in which there are these female entities who would essentially grant creative experiences to mankind. So Steven Pressfield personifies this force through the Muses in a way in which if you do the work every single day, the Muses, these beings in some hyperdimensional spiritual sense, will literally recognize you as being a professional who takes the work seriously, who truly appreciates and understands it and is a master of your craft, and they will grant you a gift of the inspiration because they see you and they want you to be a conduit for their magic.
They want to interface with you.
Exactly.
So in other words, be nice to your ideas.
Right. So your mom actually talks about this sometimes.
Well, it's a book that she recommended to me where this lady treats her ideas like people. And so what she does is if an idea comes to her and she thinks it's maybe a bad idea, she doesn't say it's a bad idea. She said, this idea isn't for me, because she doesn't want that idea to go talk to the other ideas and say, that lady doesn't like us.
Yeah.
So we're less inclined to come back to her.
That's a good way to think about it. And again,
Whether or not it's objectively real or not, it's still pragmatic.
Right. It's just like treating these ideas in a way which makes sense. I was really excited to do this book review because the first time I actually came across it was a couple of years ago, and I heard Joe Rogan talk about this book.
I think, did he talk about the book, or did he just reference Steven
The
Pressfield?
book and Steven Pressfield,
Okay.
yeah. And they were talking about the practical aspect versus the reality of it, and it really usually doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter. Whatever gets the job done, right?
Exactly. And so when you sit and do the work every day, those muses will choose you over an amateur. And again, it just has to do with consistency and the mentality of how you approach the work that will set you apart. It's a great philosophical concept, whether or not we possess ideas, right? The whole idea of the muse is that we do not possess the creative idea itself. Those creative ideas possess us. We are like antenna that are capturing wavelengths from the cosmos. It's a very new age concept
Right.
of, conscious awareness. The whole
The brain is the mind, or the mind is the brain.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's very similar to that. And the more that you do the work and become a professional, the more you hone and strengthen that antenna in order to call down these metaphysical, ethereal beings who will then guide you to finish the work and to build your best work. And while there are so many other great concepts that we could dive into that exist within this short work of Steven Pressfield's, I really just want to leave the rest to the mysteries and let you guys just sort of have at it yourself.
We want you to read the book. That's part of the reason why we do these.
Absolutely. But more so because I really enjoyed this book for the sake of the experiences that Steven Pressfield gives, his personal anecdotes of his life that he gives to convey his messages, as well as the mythological and literature-based examples that are littered all throughout the book, again, to funnel his point to you. And it was just such a great learning experience for me. And it really comes down to the way he expresses it with his personal experience, how he does the work every day and how he remains as a professional despite resistance trying to stop and thwart him.
How does he do that?
Just doing the work every day.
Yeah.
Just like finding a way, a schedule, or figuring out a means of prioritization and just doing it every single day. A while ago, you and I were talking about Duncan Trussell, and you had mentioned something.
Oh yeah, like how it's pretty funny. Duncan Trussell does this thing where he goes to the gym so that he can sit in the parking lot and write, because he wants to write more than he wants to go in there. So it's kind of like tricking him psychologically into being like, well, I'm going to do the thing that I would rather do,
Sure.
which is something that I should be doing anyway.
Yeah, that's if whatever you got to do to get the work done, just do the work, and that'll
Right.
set you apart. And then those muses will come to you, and you'll just flow. Getting into the flow state, it's gonna feel amazing. I don't know if anybody out there is a content creator, or if you just like want to meditate, or if you just want to go on a run every day and become more and more physically fit.
Right.
This book is still beneficial for you.
Yeah.
So
It also goes back to the book review we did on how to read a book, where they talk about reading 15 pages a day, and it gets you in that flow state too. So where you'll probably end up actually doing more than that.
exactly.
So shout out to our book review on
How to Read a Book
as well,
by Mortimer J. Adler.
which is,
Yep.
has parallels to this.
Exactly. And so that being said, I mean, this book is for anybody out there, again, who is just trying to accomplish some goal or task. It's very short, sweet, easy to read. I read the book 2 or 3 times. Every person that I've ever recommended this book to who is a creative person, it has changed their life for the better. And every time that I find myself lacking motivation or feeling like that age is old, writer's block demon pop up in my head when I'm working on music, lyrics, or fiction, or the philosophy text that I'm working on, I just revisit this book again, and it just like revitalizes me and gives me that energy again. It just reminds me, hey, you just got to do this thing, and you can do this thing, and resistance will not stop you.
It's one of those things we can easily drift on. So an occasional reminder is really actually necessary as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and there are other works that Steven Pressfield has published after this that are sort of analogs to it, in which he helps you further actually do the work. This book is more about realizing there's work to do and that you have to do the work. His other books are more about how do you literally go about doing that work. So check him out. Let us know what you think. If you guys enjoyed this book review, it's nice, short, and sweet, just like the book. Leave a like, comment. Please subscribe if you really enjoy this content. Give us a share and a shout out if you have a creative person in your life who you think this might benefit. And if you have or have not read the book, but you'd like to pick one up regardless, a link in the description will be there for you in the YouTube video. With that,
So thank you for joining us. It's been a great conversation.